Welcome to the deep dive. If you're listening, chances are you're someone who deals with a ton of information. You're looking for that shortcut, right? The key insight to get past the overwhelm and actually use what you learn. So today we're doing a deep dive into creating sustainable systems at work. We're looking closely at sources designed specifically to help you stop being the lone hero, the goal. Build an architecture of support instead. And the promise these sources make is pretty compelling. It's not just about being more efficient, it's about building systems that, keep working even when you aren't pulling all-nighters. Our mission here is to figure out how you build that machine, the one that multiplies your impact but actually reduces your workload.
That really is the dream, isn't it? But it requires a fundamental shift, a big one. If everything depends only on your energy, your ability to jump in manually, well, you've already hit a limit. You can't scale that. This deep dive is about breaking through that limit by designing support systems, things that are durable, resilient, and collaborative.
Okay, right. So let's unpack this. The sources point to 4 key steps, essentially. First, that mindset shift away from solo heroics toward thinking systemically. Then, mastering collaboration, actually sharing the workload. Third, getting the resources you need through advocacy. And finally, leveraging some really key insights about how helping others succeed becomes a strategic advantage.
Exactly. It's a whole roadmap for making things sustainable, not just frantic.
So that first step, recognizing the danger of the heroic approach, it feels like maybe the hardest one because, let's be honest, we often get rewarded for being the hero, especially early on, swooping in, fixing the crisis, working late. We start to think that frantic effort equals value.
Oh, absolutely. And that's precisely why it's so, insidious. It feels good in the short term, you get that validation, but it's completely incompatible with any kind of scalable long-term success. Think of it like this. If your process, your system, whatever it is, needs a hero. Fundamentally, yes, or at least incredibly fragile. The second that hero needs a break, gets sick, moves on. The whole thing can just grind to a halt. So the real value in moving from that individual effort to sustainable systems is that the system itself handles reliability. It handles consistency. That's the shortcut to long-term impact. You're essentially institutionalizing success, making it less dependent on any one person.
Okay, but I can hear the pushback already. Doesn't creating a system mean I lose control? If I'm the one who really cares about quality, letting go feels like settling for good enough, just for the sake of a process. How do you get past that?
That resistance is very real. I hear that a lot. But the sources suggest reframing it. You're not sacrificing quality, you're institutionalizing it. Think about it, when you're the hero, the quality is only as good as your energy level on a random Tuesday afternoon. A well-designed system ensures that quality is maintained consistently day in, day out, regardless of who's having a good day or a bad day. Making that transition takes courage, definitely. But for real, lasting impact, it's pretty much non-negotiable.
All right, so we've made the mental shift. We're committed to building the system, not being the hero. The first practical piece, according to the sources, is sharing the load. Mastering collaboration and distributing the work effectively. Now, collaboration is easy to say, but what does that actually look like? What are the concrete strategies to make sharing work part of the system's DNA?
This is a crucial distinction the sources make. We need to move beyond simple delegation towards intentional distribution. Delegation's often reactive, right? Just handing off a task to whoever seems free.
Yeah, passing the hot potato.
Exactly. Intentional distribution, on the other hand, means designing your processes so that sharing knowledge, sharing capacity is built in from the start. It's proactive, not an emergency fix. One really practical example that comes up is something like a 3-deep rule for critical knowledge or tasks.
3-deep rule? Okay, tell me more.
It basically means that for any truly essential function, like, say, managing a key client relationship or running a specific monthly report, you need at least 3 people who can do it. You have the primary owner, sure, but also a secondary person who actively shadows, maybe participates sometimes, and then a tertiary person who has all the documentation, the training materials ready to go if needed.
That sounds thorough.
Yeah.
But also, I have to ask, doesn't that take a lot of time up front? Training 2 other people, documenting everything? That feels like more work for me initially, not less. How does that pay off quickly?
But it pays back almost immediately, just maybe not in the way you first think. The payback is in reduced cognitive load and fewer future interruptions for you. Think about the hidden cost of being the only one who knows something, the constant quick questions, the emails, the approvals only you can give.
The drive-by interruptions.
Precisely. By intentionally distributing that knowledge up front, you're buying back chunks of focused work time later. You stop being the firefighter and start becoming the architect. Sustainable systems, they aren't just about tech or process charts. They are deeply social. They require that deliberate investment in building up the team's capability.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're distributing the load internally, building that team capacity. But even the best internal system needs external support, right? Fuel from the outside. Which brings us to the next piece. Resource advocacy. It's not just what you do, but what you successfully ask for. This seems to be about connecting the dots, recognizing that a great system will still fail if it doesn't have the right tools or enough time or the budget.
Exactly. And the key insight here is to treat getting those resources not as like a political hassle you have to deal with.
Or like begging.
Right. Not like begging. Treat it as a core proactive function of the system itself. When you advocate for resources, tools, time, budget, you're ensuring the system can actually operate optimally. And here's how to do it effectively, according to the sources. Stop framing requests around your personal need or overwhelm.
Okay, so instead of "I'm drowning, I need this software."
Exactly. Frame it around the system's return on investment. So instead of "I need this tool," you say, "This tool prevents a critical failure point at step C in our process." Right now, step C takes about 15 hours of manual work each week. By investing X amount in this tool, we eliminate that manual work, saving, let's say, 780 hours a year, which we can then redirect to more strategic initiatives.
Ah, okay. So you're translating your personal pain point into organizational value, durability, efficiency, money saved.
Precisely. It makes the request about strengthening the business, not just easing your burden. And seeking support runs parallel to that. Good systemic thinking means having clear escalation paths before you need them. Who do you go to for specific issues? HR, IT, finance, what's the process? Defining that ahead of time when things aren't on fire.
Instead of scrambling during a crisis.
Right. It's the difference between knowing exactly where the fire extinguisher is and who knows how to use it versus running around yelling when you see smoke.
Yeah.
That established support architecture prevents the whole thing from collapsing and needing, guess what?
Another hero.
Another hero intervention, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, this next part is where, for me, it gets really interesting. The sources bring in expert insights that honestly feel a bit counterintuitive at first. They specifically mention Dr. Adam Grant's work on helping others succeed. Now, if I'm trying to build a system to reduce my workload, spending more time helping colleagues, mentoring them, that sounds like the opposite of what I should be doing. It sounds like extra work. So how does this idea of generosity, fit into building an efficient, sustainable system? How is it not just a burden?
That's the paradox, isn't it? And it's maybe the glue that holds this whole systemic approach together. Dr. Grant's research makes a critical distinction. There's reactive, helping, constantly dropping everything to put out fires for other people. That is draining, absolutely. That leads to burnout.
Okay, yeah, I've been there.
Right. But then there's strategic, proactive generosity. When you intentionally invest time or share resources to help a colleague truly master a skill or succeed on a challenging project, you're not just being nice, you're building capacity within the system. You're deliberately creating redundancy and strengthening the collective capability around you. That's strategic generosity.
Okay, hang on. So the time I spend, say, walking someone through how to handle a tricky client situation or navigate a new software, that's not just lost time for me. It's like paying an insurance premium, an investment against me being the only one who can deal with that issue later.
That's a great way to put it. It's exactly like that. It's a long-term deposit into the health and resilience of the entire system. By actively building up the skills and confidence of others, you make the whole system run better. You reduce the need for those last-minute heroic saves down the line. Think about it. If you effectively help 3 other people learn a complex process you currently own, you haven't just offloaded work, you've essentially multiplied the system's capacity by 4, and critically, you're no longer the bottleneck. So the key is how you help. If your generosity is targeted aimed at empowering others to become self-sufficient, capable problem solvers, it dramatically boosts the system's durability and ultimately reduces your future workload. It turns a soft skill into a hard-nosed business strategy.
Wow, okay, so we have the blueprint then. It all connects. Shift away from being the hero, use intentional collaboration to distribute work, proactively advocate for the resources the system needs, and then strategically help others succeed to build that collective strength. Now, the sources are clear. This is a great theory, but it's useless if you don't actually do anything with it. Implementation is key.
Yeah.
So let's bring this down to earth for the listener. How do you start implementing this, regardless of your specific role?
Right, because these principles, collaboration, advocacy, internal support, they really are universal. Doesn't matter if you're coding, managing a team, or running logistics. The starting point is a kind of planned audit of your current situation. A practical step could be a 30-day system audit. For the next month, focus. Identify, say, your top 3 single points of failure.
Meaning the tasks or areas where if I suddenly disappeared for a week, things would completely fall apart.
Exactly those, where you are the critical dependency. Then, dedicate the next 30 days specifically to addressing those 3 points using the strategies we've discussed. So, for point number 1, maybe you implement that 3-deep rule, start training your backup. That's collaboration. For point number 2, maybe it's about lacking a tool. So, you draft that formal ROI-focused request for the resource, that's advocacy. And for the third point, perhaps you pick one key colleague and dedicate focused time, maybe an hour a week, to mentor them until they can fully handle that task independently. That's strategic support.
Okay, I like that. It breaks it down. Instead of, oh my gosh, I need to rebuild everything, it's 3 specific, manageable projects for the next month. High impact.
Precisely. Building a truly sustainable system is a marathon, not a sprint. It doesn't happen overnight. But it starts by tackling the points of greatest fragility, applying these structural fixes. You have to design your support architecture. Don't wait until burnout forces your hand. Build that redundancy, that resilience now.
This has been incredibly helpful, really clarifying. The big takeaway for me is that you can move past that feeling of constant overwhelm. The knowledge we've unpacked today gives you a practical path to multiply your impact by designing systems that support you instead of relying solely on your individual effort. So the pathway seems clear. Ditch the heroics, embrace collaboration and advocacy, and strategically help others succeed to build that collective strength.
Absolutely. And maybe leave you, the listener, with one final thought as you consider starting that 30-day audit. If your system becomes truly sustainable, if it really incorporates collaboration, gets the resources it needs, and benefits from collective capability, ask yourself this: what is the least amount of active, constant intervention you need to provide for that system to run successfully? Aiming for that minimal effective input, well, that's the real measure of whether your architecture is truly working.
A powerful question to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into creating systems that sustain you. We hope this helps you reduce your workload and really maximize your long-term impact. We'll see you next time.